Hey everybody. In today's video, we're going to focus on the Christmas rally that started towards the end of the week. So we have 10 ideas that we're going to follow through. They're going to be long ideas, and we're going to focus on areas that look like they could have significant follow through next week going into the new year. So let's just jump right into it. So the very first one on the list is going to be Tesla. Now, we obviously know that he is done selling, and the fact that Elon is done selling has been like a little Christmas gift, to say the least, right? I mean, in the past 3 days, we've had an enormous move. So, and you know, it's interesting because you could sit there and say, yeah, well, maybe this was going to happen or not because you had to finish by the end of the year. Nevertheless, nobody knew the timing, and you can see how we did here. We did exceptional. So this is beginning. This is not ending. And let's just walk through a couple things. And I have already, just caveat, I have already been buying it, but we're just getting started here. So as you can see, you're getting above the 50, the 21. Here's your old neckline, okay, and you just happen to close right on it. Now, after hours on Friday, you were actually up over it a little bit, but I think it's important to note as well that you're now above every single major moving average. If you throw in the RSI just to understand where you're at, you can see that we've only just begun in crossing the 50. We're very, very far under from being overbought. We're not even close. So this has a lot of room. I wouldn't be surprised, and even into the beginning of the new year, to watch this run and get back up to the highs. But you're going to have some stuff that you have to deal with here. So right now, we're just going to use, and I'm not even going to use the absolute high. What I'm going to tell you is that if you get over 1070, this is probably going to head to this level, which is roughly 1116. So that's the first one that we're going to look at. The second one is a company that was actually in the top five at the beginning. It was the last day of Thursday. So it was Wednesday night, actually, when this was in. So the reason I brought this one up is it's pretty textbook VCP. So let's get rid of all these. And that's volume contraction pattern, which is pretty much how Minerva trades. So what you're seeing here is you're just going straight across, right? And then over here you can see, and I'm just going to draw it in so you can see it. Okay, and these are the kinds of trades that they tend to work very well. Why? Because you have this confluence that's going on right here, right? You have two different areas that are breaking. So you have a major resistance line that's breaking, you have a wedge line that's breaking, and by the way, you're hitting all-time highs. They're the kinds of moves that tend to have legs to it. So really, as long as you're above your neckline here and you stay above this wedge line, you're in good shape. All you're really looking for is 250.78, and then we can just kind of extrapolate a couple things out that may happen here. We're just going to go look at the weekly because it's going to be a lot cleaner to focus on. Okay, so what we're going to show you is a trade that I like a lot and a trade that I do a lot, which is when we have these upper channel flips. These tend to go parabolic and move pretty fast. If you look at this over the weekly, you can clearly see here what's going on. So really, we're just looking for that 250.78. I think this is going to go. I think this has big potential. Micron. So this was one that we were trading. You know, we traded it a couple times, but it's getting to the point where it's going to be hard to ignore. Now, this is just the weekly, but I want to put this in perspective because you can see how clean it is before we should get into where we should be looking at buying. And this is going to be a little different. So I'm going to show you how I think that this should be traded. Now, see where you're at here, and you see you can get up to this level. So I think there's more there than meets the eye, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm saying that you can get up. There's another 10 points there if you went up today. If it takes longer, obviously it's going to give you more time to make more money. Now, most people are going to look at this and say that you can only go to here. Well, this stock really doesn't act that way, especially after consolidating for this period of time. If you realize that you've been consolidating, essentially trending down since April, okay, that's a big deal. Okay, that gives you 6 months, right? Solid 6 months, actually more like 8 months of just a base before you break out. Now, the last one you had like that, if you take a look, is back here from March, okay, to October, roughly the same type of time frame, and we saw an enormous move off of that base, right? Very similar base. And this is one that's moving high, and we had an 82% move over 5 months. This is setting up for a really long-term move. So this is a very simple trade, and we saw it on Friday, or Thursday rather. You saw the volume come in. All you're looking for here is you're going to have to watch this level. But what I would suggest is if you can get over the 95 level, consider putting the trade on ahead of time, because if you clear this, you're going to see so much power through it. And if you don't see power through it, if you bounce through it and it does, and it comes back down, just get out. But you want to get up and in before you get to this level in this trade. You're going to want a little bit of a cushion. So use the 95 level and then watch how it plays out when it gets close to this level. But the amount of buying that you're going to see come in is going to be something very similar to what we just saw with Apple, in my opinion. This is clearly becoming the leader. It's actually outperforming on a relative strength basis. It's actually outperforming AMD right now, which is also on the list, which we're going to cover in a moment, and it's outperforming Nvidia. So this is the leader. This is the focal point. If you like these ideas, subscribe to this channel and make sure you turn on all notifications so you're notified of them. We're doing more videos. You're going to want to be notified, especially educational videos. We're starting to do them in order, so you're going to want to be notified when they come out. AMD. So AMD, as you can see by this chart, is exactly what we're talking about. Yes, you don't have the same exact look that you have on MU, do you? No, but you have this. And let's clean off these indicators. You can see where they're at and how we're over the 21, how we respected the 50. These are simple moving averages. There are times where I use EMAs. I'm putting out a video maybe this week that will show you one way that you should use EMAs instead of SMAs, but for short-term trading. It's just a little more accurate on a probability basis, but I use simple when I'm looking at longer term trades. So you can see where you stand here. Now we're just going to clean these out, and we're just going to get back to one of the other things that we learned in one of the previous videos on support and resistance lines. And we're just going to draw this in real quick so that we can take a look at it and see what's going on. So right here you have 147.56, and I just think it's pertinent to understand that this has been an issue here and here. Bonk, 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 right? So that's an issue, and that's something that we have to deal with. So we're looking for a close over this level. So if we break out and then don't close over that level, that would probably be a sign that I would probably just close it out and come back in the next day and possibly look at the position again. Really, you're looking for 149.02. Get over that level, and you're going to start seeing these move. You're starting to see that whole space. Let's just talk about it for a moment. You're seeing a really nice base here in the space, and here's your upper channel, okay? And indexes always respect trend lines more than stocks because obviously it's a conglomerate of stocks. But what you're seeing, right? You couldn't even get close to it, and then we just bounced. It's pretty impressive, frankly. So that's what I would focus on. I'd focus just on the 149.02 level, and then we're just going to try and see if we can get back up to here and see if we can start working through these red bars. That would be our goal here. So as we see the travel play come back on, and we saw the travel play, right? We did fairly well this week with Expedia and bookings, if you were looking at some of the top 5x5s that we do every day. And just look at this for a moment, right? So, okay, so we kind of have this double top right here. I mean, that's not overly exciting, but there's something going on here that I think that we need to really pay attention to. And it's kind of hard to see, but this is actually an H, right? And it doesn't look like a perfect H, okay? But this is an H, and this tested. And what we've done here is we've come down, tested the bottom of the H, not broken, right? Here's your bar, gap down, so they're going to try and shake you out and just completely encompass the bar from 2 days ago, right? It's not a technical bullish engulfing because this one's in the middle. But what you're seeing is then you broke above the H line, okay? And that's when it gets interesting. Now, I don't even really need moving averages, but we're going to put them in there. So there's the H line. This break and close over right here determines that you've now gotten over your H line, right? Because you can just picture this as an H, and you can kind of picture this kind of as the hump of the H, right? I'm sure there's more technical word for the hump of the H, but I'm not an English major, so that's what we're going to go with. Anyway, so you can kind of see what you're dealing with here, but there's another level to this as well. This moved on earnings. So this is a Powers earnings gap, and you play those a little bit differently. Once you're in the wedge, right, it's kind of like being a magnet to an extent. Once you're back in, you're in, okay? And that's exactly what's happened here. So you can see that right here, right? Now you're back in. So this becomes like a magnet, this whole area staying in there. So that's a pretty simple understanding. We can all grasp that concept. So now you think that, okay, things are picking up, travel's starting to move, people are going to start traveling more, we're going to start seeing more shows. Great. Okay, we're above all our moving averages, and you're seeing volume continually pick up here. It's exactly what you want to see. So we're going to clean this out for a moment just to make it easier on the eyes. And then we're just going to throw this in very quickly right here. Okay, and you see this line? This is what you're looking for. Okay, you're looking for 119.27. And you just happen to be right here at 119.15. So we're going to call it 119.30. And I just think it's important to note that if you look at this opening bar, okay, you're right around that level that we're talking about. You're off by about 50 cents. If you look at the opening of this bar, it's right around the same level, right? They're not exact, but you're right there. So we're just going to look for the high of that so that we're through all the nonsense. And that's going to take us to 119.30. Okay, I think that this will continue to move if it gets there. I think you'll actually break through the top of this to the 127.72 level. That's what I'm shooting for there. So you're going to notice that a lot of what we're focused on here is large caps, and usually during corrections, and let's just be blunt about this one. I know it felt brutal, but this was a very light correction. And just keep that in mind. This was not as brutal as people are making it out to be. It's brutal if you didn't have a process in place, but if you did, you got out of the way and were able to trade it. So, I mean, everyone's accounts are not going to be at all-time highs right now, obviously, but you're still setting up and you can still consistently make money in this market while we wait for better opportunities. And frankly, this market's starting to shape up. It really is. And we're starting to see real signs of that. So what we're seeing here is very similar, right? On ARC. Okay. See that H? Okay, now we're above the 21 day. Not yet. We're trying. We failed twice. So you can see what we're going to want to close above if we're in that and we put that trade on. And if we don't close above it after you put the trade on that day, you might consider closing it. And just so we can see the trajectory and see if things are getting better, we can start seeing the 8. So the 8's about ready to cross the 21. We can see how that's going to happen right here. And that's something that we're going to want to pay attention to. All we're looking for is to get above this doji. Just get above this long-legged doji right here. You can see the volume and how it's picking up. I'm not really sure why everybody is on the bandwagon to try and knock this lady down. I mean, she's absolutely crushing it. So the stocks have dropped that she's in. It's a fund where she tells you to be in for 5 or 10 years, not a week. So when it gets beaten up, it usually will revert to a mean. And that's what I would look for. I would look for this to get back into this trading level up in here. I don't think that's very unrealistic. Your first stop's probably going to be the 110 level, but all we're going to be looking for, frankly, is probably the century mark. But let's look at that doji and let the doji tell us exactly where we're going to be. So the doji's 99.88, so we're going to call it an even 100. Get above that 100 and then watch the top of this H, because once again, what do we see here? We see an H pattern, right, that didn't break. And from us that have looked at some of the previous videos, we know that this is a bearish engulfing in a failed H, and we know that that's powerful. Now we just need to flip and get back into triple digits and move forward and then just start working our way up. But in the next couple of weeks, this could be 110, 120 again. It can happen. Nvidia. You see the theme here with semiconductors? Large cap semiconductors. People are going to put money to work. Okay, they're going to start chasing performance, especially in the beginning of the year and how they got crushed this year. So we're going to see, I think we're going to continue to see that Santa rally, but I think it's important for us to understand what happened on Friday. So not every stock pulled a Tesla. A lot of them tested levels and held. So this is a very easy trade, okay, and it should only be executed if it actually works. If it doesn't work, this should not be executed, because you can see right here, right, your failed attempts along here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 failed attempts along this wedge line. So don't be in a hurry. Let it do what it's going to do. No need to be a hero. But what you're looking for is to get over 301. And you can see this setup here, right? This has the potential to turn into a bearish engulfing. It can get nasty and turn back down. right? We are seeing more leadership in Micron right now. So we're going to have to really be smart about this. 21 days hanging up there, still pointing down. That's not really exactly what we want to see, right? So what I'm saying about this level is get above that. Get to the 301. If you get to the 301, I think you're going to start seeing a lot of people step in because they don't want to miss the next AMD. They don't want to miss the next Micron. They're going to start putting money to work. So that's my focal point. Focus on the 301. Please comment on these videos as you see them playing. Usually people get ideas, I'm finding out, on other videos that I should be making or points where I could be a little bit more specific. So if you can just drop those comments down there, it really does help me in what I am going to create as far as educational content. And it makes these top 10 ideas a little easier for everyone to understand. So DPZ. So I've essentially been stalking this since looks like July. I love these kinds of trades. Okay, I absolutely love them. So here's your breakout bar. We can see when it happened. It happened on earnings, and you can see that we're setting up to break out. Right now, you come through this, you take a look. Okay, let me just show you this right now. You can see that level. You had a 75-point move, right? It's a huge level. But, okay, we have this talk all the time. We have the saying in the trading room, first mouse gets the trap, second mouse gets the cheese, right? Failed. Okay, third time, but look at that close. Now look at the difference between these bars, right? So if you understand candlesticks and the bars and the pattern of each bar and what it means, you understand how bullish this bar is, okay? First of all, just by looking at it, you closed at an all-time high, and you happen to close above all of this, right? All those wicks, all that rejection's gone, meaning that those sellers are cleaned up. All you're looking for here is to get above this level. 549.14. Get above that level, and this could really move. I mean, this is a serious base, and based upon just the depth of this base, if you look from this level down to here, it's over 100 points. So you could see a 20-25% move just for this to still be in the same range without getting even overextended. There's 20-25% there. I like this idea a lot. Now we can throw these in, but we already know they're up, right? Because we're near the highs. And if you want to just try to figure out where we're at in regards to maybe there's something else that RSI could tell us, well, you can see that you've broken that trend line and that this is curling and pointing up. So we still have plenty of time to get up here. And you have plenty of room before you're even through this and up, which means that this could continue. Yes, we're not as high as we are here. Some people will say that's a negative divergence. I'd recommend that you watch the RSI video I did. The difference with here is, and I plan on doing a more advanced one, the difference here is we're pointing up. So it still has the opportunity to do that. And this means that as this points up and gets over these humps, it does mean that the magnitude of the move is about to increase. Not a bad thing to have happen when you're sitting at a major inflection point. So once again, you're just simply looking for that level, which is 549.14. Get above that, and we are golden. So DWAC. Now let's talk about this one. We're just looking purely technical. Okay, so let's just understand that. We're going to get rid of these indicators for a minute, and I just want to show you something. So I'm going to have to put these back on because that's the only way the system's going to let me do what I want to show you. Now, okay, and again, everybody knows here, we talk technicals. I'm not making a fundamental case for the company. I just want you to understand something. So anchored VWAP has a time and a place, and this is exactly where that time and a place is. So one of the easiest things to do is to understand that these stocks should usually be pinched or trading in a range. And that range is from like a peak and a trough. So you can see this is the day of inception of the company. This is the day when it peaked, okay? What we're seeing here is we came out of that pinch, tried to get back in, came out again. Now, if you look very closely at these bars, okay, you're going to see something, right? And you can see it right here. 54.33. Where did this bar get to? 54.67. All we're looking for is to get above this bar. We're looking to get above to 54.75. If we can get above 54.75, I think we could see a move back over this line. If we can close back over this line, we're setting up for something like this, right, where we can push to the mid 60s. Okay, so this has that potential. And next week, you're going to see a lot of the wonky names move. You're going to have a lot of volatility in the wonky names towards the end of the year. People try and juice up their returns going into the Christmas rally, and that's what everyone's hoping for, a Christmas rally. So one other thing that you could just look at is you can drill down into the 1 minute, especially on something like this, and you can just see the volume, right? And you haven't had volume like that in some time. Now, we just can focus on that on an hourly, okay? And you can kind of see you haven't, it was back here, right? So other than that, this is what we're dealing with. And on an average basis, just to put it in perspective, relative volume-wise, you can see that at one point on that break, we were at 9x, and they obviously cleaned somebody out there. So that's all we're looking for. And again, you're just looking for an up and in, and you're not really looking for anything more than that. So, and we're not marrying this. It's a quick trade. We're just looking for that push, very similar to when we looked at that SOPA trade, right? We're just looking, get me in, get me up, and then just constantly be moving the stop up. But I think that you can get wedged in here again, and that's exactly what you want. Roku. So this one we've had a little bit of a battle with. Great example of double top and why you always honor your stops. This was something that we bought up here, and then our stop was literally the low of this bar. So it's pretty interesting to see how much money people are upset that they lose money that day. But when you turn around and realize that if you didn't have a system, you're down about 200 points or 50%. So what I like about this trade, okay, and we're going to put the averages in a moment, but what I really like about this trade is all this volume, and then you have this spike. Now, if you go and take a look at this, and you just draw this spike across, just to put this in perspective, I just want to get this out there. Okay, so there we go, perfect. So if you come out here, you literally have to go back to, hold on, let me just pull it all over, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes this takes a little bit of time to pull over. I'm not really sure why. Should be a little faster. There we go. So the only other time that you have any volume that is this high, okay, we have to go back to the pandemic levels, okay? And this is what happened during the pandemic, right? So just put that in perspective. That's how much selling was the other day. I find it interesting that they had an issue and the stock was dumped. People were bashing it. You had a couple people come out and try to protect it. It is what it is. It didn't really work too well, but what did work was you flushed everybody out on that news. Everybody threw in the towel. You undercut here, which gives us a double bottom, right? That's what you're looking for. You're looking for that double bottom. You're looking for that double bottom flush. Okay, and then you want to get close over it, and that's exactly what you did. Then you broke out. And I just want to point this out because I think this is really fascinating. Okay, at the bottom of this, not only did you undercut and go, right, but now you're pulling a bull flag. If you can get over this, right, you have confirmation of a bottom being in because of the undercut. So this would confirm a double bottom, and that would confirm that the bottom is in. So right now you're just looking at this flag, and all we're going to really look for, and you're going to see it right here, 237.18 is what I would look for. I wouldn't worry too much about this wick. You can if you want to and wait for the 238.75. But I think if you get above the 237.18, you're going to be just fine with this trade. And this is the kind of trade that can actually move going into January, going into the tax sales, right? You had major tax sales this year on this. And this is the kind of stock that can actually move on this. So I really like this idea. And let's just focus one more thing so that you can see this and put these in so you can see what's going on. So you are holding the 8 and you are holding the 21, and that's exactly really what you want to see, and that's really what you want to focus on. So that's it. Everybody have a great evening and have a Merry Christmas.